I will start. So as Smitha has mentioned, so my name is Farid Azouaou. I'm based currently in France. I lived for almost 8 years in Germany. I worked as a data scientist and data engineer in different companies in different fields. And one of my major programming language is R during my studies and also during my work. I had the opportunity to use it in, okay, yeah, sure, I can turn off my camera, so this might help. I used our programming language mainly in for different projects where I have built Shiny applications with backends in data science, also by data pipelines and so on and so forth. No, sorry. Okay, perfect. And during this session, I want to introduce you to a package called heddlr. It's not me who has developed this package. However, I have made use of it, and I realize that it's really powerful. And during the session, I'm going to share with you the way I have used it, why I have used it first of all, and how I made reporting much more professional thanks to this little package that has been developed by one of the R developers. I will share during the session also so I'm going to use in this session, since we are going to there will be someone or following in parallel to the session. As Smitha mentioned about me, like in my a brief summary of professional experience, and I'm a very big fan of R and R Shiny, and I'd say I'm a user addict of R and all the frameworks, including Shiny and RMarkdown. So here are some useful links that we can use to follow the workshop. So by the way, I can also share the link on the chat if you to access to the materials, but I can also share later on GitHub the content, including the source code and the materials. By the way, we are going to use a dataset from patient risk profiles that have been shared on Kaggle. The main packages we are going to use and rely on are heddlr and RMarkdown. The source code and materials, I will share them in in the GitHub repo, public, and just for those who want to remember the link of the event. Okay, perfect. I will share the source code later on, and as I said, like the link for the Pharma app extract official event link, like URL. Before starting, I just want to give a glimpse overview about reporting using RMarkdown. So thanks to RMarkdown and the newly released framework, so to say, Quare tool, we can build interactive and static reports and dashboards, interactive referring to HTML, including all the graphic and interactive things, static such as PDF or Word-based documents, where you can create the content using different programming language such as R, Python, Bash. The advantage of such frameworks is that they are open source and there is a large community using this. Okay, perfect. As I said, reporting using RMarkdown gives the possibility to generate interactive static content, reports, dashboards, and thanks to the open community, you can use a lot of open source packages such as Flex Dashboard for interactive dashboards, PrettyDoc for advanced and fancy version of the HTML content Xaringan for presentation-based documents, and we can also couple the RMarkdown or Quarto with other frameworks such as Shiny, both for R and Python, to build complete projects. This is something that we are going to do today to illustrate how can we make use of these frameworks to build an enterprise level content. But one of the things that I have encountered when trying to build some content is that these frameworks, despite the fact that they are having a good advantage, they are lacking some flexibility, especially if, for example, I have built an RMarkdown content and all of a sudden there is a new variable or there is new data coming into my database, and they want to extend this file. The downside is that I'm not able to just automatically include this content into our Markdown and consequently into my document. And then one of the second questions that comes into my mind, that now that I have created the content, can I share it safely without the need to share like sensitive data? Instead of just sharing HTML content, is it possible to share the skeleton, the R Markdown file, and then later on, or on the other side, my colleague can reproduce the document? What about scalability, and what are the best practices for that? So now please confirm that you are having access to the project. I'm going to open the RStudio session online. Since some of you are willing to follow from this side, I will start the session by creating first of all like a basic version of an R Markdown. By the way, could you please give me an information on the chat, like how advanced are you in from the experience perspective? Am I going to start from scratch, or I have like an audience with some background in R Markdown and our programming language? As you might see, once we have created the R Markdown document, then it gives us the possibility to create the file. So first of all, we need to insert a title, the author, it's me. The date, by default, it detects the current date. I can even make use of current date, which will make this date even dynamic, and then I will create the file. And just for information, by default, the R Markdown comes with an upper part, which is the header. It's a YAML. It's the part which is written in YAML. So then we have the title, the author, the date. As you might see, this means that we generate date based from our programming language R, and then we use a function called sysdate in order to detect the current date. We can even make it like systime if you want to be much more precise. And then you have the output information which is going to be an HTML document. I will add a subtitle for that. I will so I will put the subtitle of the workshop here, so we can make it much more content use, like helpful. So there is a template coming into it. So then I'm gonna delete the whole template. And by default, the setup is to have every script echoed to true. So I prefer to have it false because it's gonna be what's like the current document is going to deliver. I will create a folder for that. I will call it our Pharma Workshop, and I will save my RMarkdown document, our Pharma Workshop. Now that I have created the file, I simply press on a button called knit here next to you, and then in a few seconds, so then you get like the HTML document, our Pharma report, the subtitle, reproducible and scalable reporting using RMarkdown and heddlr, the creator, and the date. It looks like a little bit ugly, but we will try to make it much more nicer. So in order to give like a big title, so then we use -1, so then we start, for example, introduction. And you, as I mentioned, so we have like different frameworks in order to build documents with a fancy view. I'm referring, for example, to the Pretty Doc. In order to do so, we are going to try to install Pretty Doc, and then Pretty Doc is installed, and there is a function within Pretty Doc. It's called HTML Pretty, and now instead of having an output HTML just basic document, if I use Pretty Doc, so I'm going to have a nicer header with some theme. There are different themes. So for those who are looking for the official website for this, the Pretty Doc is here. Okay, perfect. So I'm trying to build like a basic RMarkdown file, and step by step, I will try to move on to illustrate how to use heddlr. Okay, now that I have created my first skeleton, I can give some text about our data, about the workshop. The workshop is about how to use RMarkdown and heddlr in order to build reproducible and yeah, so reports and dashboards. Okay. And now I want to use a specific data set in order to build this content. I'm going to upload a file within the project. Okay, the project is gonna here, so going to be here. So then I'm going to specify the data set here within the dev data within the R Pharma workshop. I will call it RDev. And I'm going to upload the file. Okay, I'm apologizing. R Pharma. Okay. And for information, the data set is about patient risk profiles that I have like downloaded from Kaggle just for the workshop purposes. At the end, it's going to be deleted. And for those who are interested in like into the link where to find this one, so it's this link. So we can view the file. So we just import the data set so that we can look at it. It seems that the readr file package to import the file is not installed, but it takes a few seconds so that you can have it in place, so you can visualize our data set. Okay, now that the R package readr is installed, we can upload the file that we have. As you might see, so it contains some variables about the age group of the patients. I think the number of the patients are about 100 patients, different groups, and information about some disease, including kidney injury, diabetes, heart failure in prior year, and so on and so forth. Now that I have just visualized it so that I can import my file in order to have much more information about this one. So that what I can do is simply also use the link to include it within our markdown report. I would just write an R chunk, so within this small yes. Okay, can anyone share the links for that, for the ones who has just joined? I'm not sure if it's the right one. As I said, so in this small icon, there you can create, like you can create different chunks from different programming language. Like the major one is in R, Bash, D3, Python, RCPP, SQL, and stand for those who are you going to use the core part of this, like the statistical analysis using Stan. In our case, it's just gonna like an R chunk would be sufficient. Sorry. An R chunk will be sufficient for that. I'm gonna cheat a bit. So instead of writing everything from scratch, I will run this command, and the function read CSV is coming from a package called readr. So I'm going to use directly this syntax instead of just loading the whole package. And then if I press on knit, then I will be able to see some results. It turns out that there is an issue. The file does not exist in the current working directory because simply we are not in the right working directory when we work in RMarkdown. By default, the file itself is referring to the current working directory, so we don't need to specify the main folder. So we can simply start with the dev data. I think this is gonna work. Yes. Now I have uploaded my data. As you might see, there are some warnings and message once we have read this one. So we can simply deactivate the warnings by just setting warning is false and message is false. We can set it on a chunk level, but we can also set this one for the whole markdown document on this part. So then if I render again, the content will not show any warning or message coming from our backend. Now I can visualize my data just by simply printing it or using some like function coming from a package neatr, and the function itself is called cable. And if I'm going to use this, so it's going to show in an interactive fashion the data object. So for this is like our initial data set. Now let's assume that we want to proceed to some analysis. Let's call it some advanced analysis about our patients. to create some content. And if I look back to my initial dataset patient risk profiles, I see that the column names are, to my point of view, a bit weirdo because there is 2 dots, there are some special characters. So in order to get rid of this, so I usually use a package called janitor. I'm not sure if it's already installed though. Then we are going to use to install this package. It's a very powerful package. I highly recommend it for you. It goes along together with dplyr, tidr, and the whole tidyverse family. I think despite it's not from tidyverse, then the advantage is that we can clean the column names, for example, for our the initial data set. Now if I just use the pipe operator in order to clean the data set and then try to visualize the results, it seems that the pipe operator is not there. I'm going to load the library, the dplyr library, famous library. Now, if I look at my data, now the column names look much more nicer and clean. So then that's what I'm recommending. Please use such like standards. Okay. Now that I have create and now I have cleaned the names, I will keep the same variable. Now if I press on okay, there is some little issue there. It's saying it could not find a function. By the way, for information, for RMarkdown, everything what is coded here is in a new session. This means that even if you create loaded in like a library or pipe operator within your R session, is not going to be included in your Markdown because it's gonna be executed in a separate session. So for that, we are going to load the libraries within the appropriate session. For the pipe operator, we need dplyr. And now the document is going to be generated properly and with the right with the correct variable names. Now that we have the data available and properly cleaned, we try to start some analysis. Now I'm gonna, within the advanced analysis, I will create like a subsection in order to analyze, let's say, the group 1, which is the group with age between, maybe let me just check if, is with between 10 and 14, 10 and 14, and I'm interested in some visualization there. Yeah, so the first part is trying to the first part is to retrieve the data from the correct variables. So now I use the patient risk profile. I will use dplyr. Now, as maybe if we try to visualize again the content, see that for each group there is like a standard naming here. So if it's concerned like the patient belongs to the group, it's 1. If it does not belong to the group, it's 0. I preferred maybe to convert it to yes and no. Then for that we will use like a function mutate called mutate that turns the the variable that creates a new variable. In our case, we'll keep like the same variable name, and for that, I'm going to use a function called case_when from the dplyr package, and case_when the age group 10 to 14 is equal to 1. So then I'm going to say yes. Sorry, I'm going to say it's now yes. If else, then it's no. Then the default value will be a no. And now if I want to just visualize the, maybe I will, okay, select only that variable and try to check the content. Now if I go down, and as you might see, we moved from 0 to 1 binary naming into a standard saying that if like a user patient belongs to that group, so it's yes. If else, then it's no. So I will tell you later on why I have moved from this statement. And now let's say we are interested into okay, now I'm going to just skip the last two commands, and now I'm interested into knowing what is like the info, like what is the proportion of having edema in prior year of each patient. So for that we have a variable called edema in prior year for the search information. Like I'm technically not in the pharma industry. I'm sorry if something is not properly explained from this side. What I'm going to do is that simply I'm trying to count how many patients within this group are concerned by such disease. Just trying to, okay. Yeah. I'm going to try to group by my data by the age group variable and create the statistic of the information whether a variable is like whether a patient is having such disease. So then I'm going to use some reframe information here and then count if it has edema in the prior year or not. So I'm just trying to count. I use the function n to count the number of the patients from the dplyr, and I'm going to visualize some results. For visualizing the results, you can use Plotly, you can use ggplot for static content. In my case, I do prefer using eCharts for R. It's a cool package. I don't know if you have heard about it. It's a very cool package. I will paste in the chat the link. It has pretty nice presentations and graphics, so that's the one I like to use the most. So in order to use it, so I will try to install it. eCharts for R. Maybe this is gonna take some seconds. Seems that there are a lot of package dependencies, but yeah, I mean, the installation is pretty fast. Good. And the syntax is pretty simple. E-charts, first of all, you create the e-charts and an object like we do it in Plotly, and then now I just simply specify e-charts for R, and this time I'm mistaking the e-charts for R. And this time I'm going to use, for example, a bar chart. And the target variable here is going to be my edema in prior year. And on the x-axis, I am going to use the age group variable information. Now we try to create content. As you might see, here is the graphic of the age group of the group one of our patients, which are between 10 and 14. So this is the statistics for the case where it's no, and for the case where it is yes. We can even try, for example, maybe see we can generate the content using a pie chart. Yes. And now that they have created the pie chart, so then I can say add another additional charts. For example, now we try to visualize what is the average predicted risk of migraine. Similarly to the previous content, I just created a chunk. It can be in Python or R. And now I'm going to be, I will target another variable. In this time, it's going to talk about migraine. Now I'm going to proceed to the same transformation since I did not save it, like the patient, like the mutation in our case. So I just try to copy paste in this case. And next step is to this time try to group by the predicted risk of migraine and the target group to refine the logic. In this case, I will try to group by the age group 10 to 14, and try now create a summary or a statistic, which is going to be a simple average. So I will, okay, average predicted risk of migraine. The title is pretty long. Maybe you can shorten it later on. And this information is going to deliver for us the average. So for each group. So the case where this belongs to this group, and the case where it does not belong to this group, the other one, if it's going to be like what is the average predicted risk of the migraine. And in this case, since it's an average, we are going to create not a pie chart, but a bar chart. So e-charts for R, and this time it's going to be the bar chart, and I'm going to use my newly created variable average predicted risk of migraine in order to show the results. I will need again. And here is my second chart. In addition to the pie chart, I have the bar chart for both groups. What is the average predicted risk of migraine? As you might see, there is like a significant like deviation, which means that the age plays an important role for that. Okay, now that we have created this one, so just for information, this is gonna help us. Instead of rendering from this side, we can create the same content by simply invoking an R command. I will create some RMD helpers file, and from this side, from this script, I can exactly more or less create the same content. The command is coming from RMarkdown, and the function is called render. And they need to specify the input. In our case, it's since we are in the same location of our Pharma Workshop RMarkdown. So it's this one. So I will specify that I want my input there, and I can even specify the output. Do I have it? Do I want the output? Sorry, I think it's called output file. Now let's assume that I want to call it differently. Our Pharma Workshop content.html, assuming that we are not moving to PDF or Word. Do I want to stay in the same directory, or I want to have another different content directory? Let's assume that I want to call it content, which means that now the content is not going to be generated within the main repository, but it's going to be created under under the content folder. Now that I have generated, I have inserted the inputs. If I press on run, it seems that there is a path relative issue, like which leads to some little error. Let me see what went wrong. Maybe we press on this and then we copy the path, sorry. This avoids us. Okay. Now that we have no such file, why are we having such issues despite that we are not okay? Maybe I'm going to check what is the current working directory. I will set the working directory to our Pharma Workshop. That's better, I would assume. Now the content is about to be generated, and the HTML final content is under the subfolder content. I can open it in a browser, and here is my my content. Why I'm stating about this? So because later on we are not gonna rely on the knit button, but we are going to use this direct command. And one of the options that also is enabled by RMarkdown is that we have the possibility to insert parameters. This is what we are talking about most of the time about parameterized reporting. And in order to do so, this basic illustration can be done. We insert like an additional input within the header. It's called params, and then I specify, for example, here the author. I want to grant to use a different author within the report. And simply the params input here is going to act like a list within if we refer it in our jargon, or someone can help me in Python. What's the equivalent of a list? I think it's called it's the dictionary. And then simply, if I want to access the content of the parameters and the specific author, for example, here, introduction by whom. So it's pretty easy. So I just use the same syntax as here. So I need to specify that the content I want is gonna be retrieved from an R content. And now, instead of specifying the date, and then I'm going to use the params made like argument here. And since it's like it acts like a list, so we want to access the information under author, so it's $author. Now, if I go back here and I run, okay, maybe you can first start with this. Maybe right now it's Farid, and I press on net. Now, if I go back up here, as you might see, introduction by Farid. And the information Farid is coming from this author. Now, maybe if I change the author to Daniel, I can skip this part. I press on net. Hi, Daniel. Now you are the author. Now the introduction is done by Daniel. And now, if I want to make this much more dynamic, I can use the render here. And from this side, I have the possibility to insert params. And I will use on the variable, I will call it report parameters or report params for in our case. And now I will create an like a list, including all the parameters that I wanted to insert. Here, for example, I want to include Pharma as an author. And now, if I press on creating the document, now if I want to access the HTML document that has been generated using this command, now the introduction is not generated by the introduction by is not by Farid or Daniel. No, it's by RFarm. This is more or less pretty straightforward, but later on we will see how complex things are getting. Okay, now that I have created my my content, I want to like extend the analysis into age group, for example, 15 to 20. So the much more, let's say, obvious part is simply just I can simply press like click on the content from the age group one, and then come here and try to reproduce for the other group. This is okay-ish, but this is gonna take us a lot of time. We can also think maybe create like a for loop to do so. However, this is not an optimal way of doing it. And now comes the game of heddlr. Now, heddlr is playing a major role in automatizing and making all these steps much more dynamic. And how heddlr is working is that heddlr is simply trying to build content based on a certain template. And this template, the template is going to be filled with dynamically with the content you are willing to insert in, and it will give you the possibility to make your RMarkdown file much more dynamic. In order to do so, we are going to do some manipulation here. The first part is to install heddlr. Okay, now heddlr is in place. Heddlr has some straightforward functions. The first one is called import draft. And the second one is called make header. So then create YAML header based on a list. We can even make the header much more dynamic. Instead of editing within the like the RMarkdown file, we can make it much more dynamic. And the masterpiece is called heddlr. And there is a final function which is called make template. Now we start with the import draft function. The import draft function simply gives enables to import like an RMarkdown file that is going to be used as, let's say, the template that is going to be reproduced many times. To do so, I'm going to suggest to break down the initial Pharma Workshop RMarkdown into at least 3 chunks or 3 blocks. So the first block is going to be the header. For the header, we don't really need to make a lot of effort or make any modifications. We can even like make the content creation directly from the R session. So I would say we will try to create the first session. Let's say we will call it an introduction. Now we are going to create a blank file, and this time we will call this introduction template. Okay, now we paste the content here. We just need to be like careful for the moment. I will skip the author information. By the way, this is how we create a comment within an RMarkdown file. And the second chunk is the most important chunk, which is about the group-based analysis. This is the one that I'm going to use. Sorry, I have the same. I thought I was on local. So then the single analysis, group analysis. Oh, yeah, single group analysis. Okay, and let's say some like a main section. I will call it analysis section, including there will be most probably including like some content into that. Okay. And now that I have the three different templates, maybe I can rename this one to a template. So this is gonna help us. And analysis section template as well. And in between, are there any questions? Is there something unclear? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Can we maybe give a hint or a sign in the chat so that I can adapt the workshop? Okay. Perfect. Okay, now that that we have created the different templates, we try to start to create the drafts. Yes, for sure. I will a bit fast. Okay, apologize for that. I will try to like share the content in a GitHub repo, including the materials as well. Now that we have created the 3 different contents, now the next step is to import this content and use them as a template. The first draft, like template draft, is the introduction. Introduction template, which is most probably not gonna not require a lot of modification. So then it seems that I created it in the content folder. I am going to get the introduction template here. We just try to see if it reads properly. And by the way, it's just a simple element. It's just like it's a list. And within the list, you will see that we have the chunk for the introduction. It's exactly this one, and it's represented in this fashion. And the second part is going to be the section. So I'm going to reproduce this 3 times. Now I'm going to get the section template. It's called analysis section template. And the last one is going to be the single group analysis template, which is the most important item here to focus on. But let's do things step by step. Okay, now single chunk template. I will load the different templates. By the way, you can simply create, like the first part is to create a header dynamically. And the advantage with the heddlr, you don't need to like specify the inputs directly within the RMD file. You can simply build it based on a list. So now I give it a list, and I specify the title. Our Pharma Workshop demo, and the author is me. And maybe for the date, I'm not sure if we can make it happen like dynamic, but we can give it a try. We go back to our initial document and then see if it's gonna be created like dynamically. This is the date, and maybe we can add a subtitle, and we give it the initial subtitle, comma, and this is my report header. Now that I have, once I run the command, as you might see, the header is created in YAML template. I can here specify, for example, now instead of having an output being HTML document, I can specify that I want to have flex dashboard. I think for that we need to install flex dashboard. And Flex Dashboard is another framework for creating RMarkdown based interactive dashboards. Pretty nice, and you can customize it, or it don't show again. So now that I have inserted my output, now the header will. Sorry, why am I not? Yeah, for sure, because the Flex Dashboard function is given. Now that I have created my header, what they can do is simply try to assemble all of this, all of the the content that has been generated in previously. In order to do so, I am going to use a function from heddlr, and it's called make template. And now that I have the data there, Now I'm going to use the header as an initial one. Create the introduction part, the section part, and the last, which is the single chunk template part. Now this is RMD file from heddlr. Okay, we can make this. Now that I have like put all this together, I can check some information. The class of the thing is a character, which turns all the content into one basic file. And then once we have this basic file content, we simply can write it into an RMarkdown. And in order to write it into Markdown, so you can use like a function like write lines, or see like heddlr itself has a function which is called export the template. I want to export the template into a specific file name, and let's say I would give it a file name now, rpharma report by heddlr dot rmarkdown. Now that I have created this one, if I want to check the rpharma report by heddlr, since we are in our Pharma Workshop repository, as you might see, now I have the new file by heddlr, and here is the content. So I have the title, our Pharma Workshop demo, reproducible and scalable reporting using RMarkdown. The author is me, and the date, it should be dynamic. And here is here is the expression. I think it's referring to the Flex dashboard. I think it's here the visual is a bit ugly, but it should do the work. And if you remember, here is our initial introduction section, and here is our section. And below is the third block, which is the single group analysis. Now that I am done, I try to knit the file and see if it gives an output. It seems not, because simply there is an issue with the output. I go back, and here, instead of declaring it as a function, I will declare just a simple output as in a text. I try to reproduce this one. Now I go back. Now it's an output coming from Flex dashboard. Yes, yeah, this is what I have done. Thanks, Daniel. Execution halted. Why? Line number 13, there is an issue. Why am I having this little issue? Yeah, maybe it's because of this. Yeah, it seems that the little comment has made some issues. Okay, as you might see now, we are getting like an dashboard using Flex dashboard. Okay, I can even rely on the recommendation of Danielle, and instead I'm going to use PrettyDoc in case you want to make this much more like in case you want to have it in another format. And now what I'm going to do is all the changes that I want to operate is going to happen on this templates, because from now onwards the content that I'm going to create will be based on this content. Now the introduction template, I'm going to just simply delete this one that has led to some little error. I will try to load again my chunks and create the header and the report itself, and at the end it's gonna generate the document. Now instead of flex dashboard, I have pretty doc HTML pretty, and now you can make your report much more dynamic. Now I can, as we have illustrated previously, we can rely on this render function in order to generate the content without a need to go back to the RMD file again. Now, instead of using our Pharma Workshop, now I'm going to use our report by heddlr RMD, and I want to have I want to have it in the same content. Do I need parameters for the moment? No. I want the content within the subfolder content. Now we run it, and here is my content using our Pharma Workshop. Using heddlr. Now I have the group 1 analysis. So far, everything is doing good. So are there questions until here? Trying to see if there are some questions. If none, I suggest to take a short break of 5 minutes, if it's okay for you. Let's say let's say we start again in 13, 5 past 13. Fine for you? Hello again. Shall we give it another start for the second part of the workshop, if you are already? Okay, perfect. So as I said, now that we have created the, let's say the RMD file based on heddlr, we can render the file as we did previously, and we get the results. But now comes the most important part, where we want to extend the single group analysis template to other different groups, because we have much more different groups. In order to do so, I suggest to do the following. Reproduce the same analysis, but for the different groups, and we like trying to create the same content. In order to do so, I will operate some changes within the single group analysis template file. And here, instead of hard coding the age group, like the target variable here, I will try to create like a pattern. I will call it target group, maybe target age group, and maybe the index here is gonna disappear. The group, the target age group, and the creation of the variables here has to follow the same logic as well. Age group, and the same thing. Here in the second part of the chunk, I will replace the age group 10, 14, and variable name to target age group. I think I have done all the necessary changes. Now that I have done the necessary changes, I'm going to reload again the single chunk template. Now, if I want to see what is in it, it seems that it has read the correct and the most recent file in that. Now I am going to use the masterpiece of the heddlr package. The function is called heddlr, And now I'm going to replace my target group variable with the right content into it. First of all, we try to reproduce the already created chunk. Now I'm going to replace the variable name. The target age group with age group 10 to 14 and try to see what comes out of it. Now I'm going to have the age 10 to 14 chunk. It seems that the pattern was not found. I think I reverted it. Now it's like the pattern has to be set in the second part. Oh, that's a bit strange. Let me check what's in it. Okay. Maybe now I replace the age group 14 by the target group, but where am I supposed to invalidate? Maybe let me just check. We ask how are we going to follow the syntax? Yeah, so we like heddlr, we give it the data and we replace with that. I think is this the way we are going to use it? No, pattern is missing. Yeah, the pattern is this one. No, I think there is a little issue here. Maybe I try to see what went wrong within this. Or maybe I did not specify properly this. Yeah, I think we need to specify a parameter which is called data, and the data is the data that we want to replace within the chunk, and the template is this one, and see if it gives. Okay, seems that the pattern is not the right one. No, I think there is something missing here, an extra. Oops, why am I having such issues? I think that the pattern comes in the third position, and the single chunk template comes in like in the second position. Now, if I look back, look now at the newly generated H10 14 chunk. Now, as you might see, all the parts where the pattern target age group in capital letter is replaced by H14 chunk element. Now, instead of making the template based on the single chunk template, I will replace with my H1014 chunk, and now I will try to do things from the beginning. If we go back now to the files, I look at the browser. First of all, we look at the content that has been generated right now, 20 past 5, and now, as you see, the content now has been dynamically adapted to the variable input that we created, which is age group 1014. Now, the results is in our Pharma content. I will open it. My results are pretty much the same as what we have done like before with by creating this manually. And now let's say the most important part of our workshop is moving from a hard-coded part into a much more dynamic part. In order to reproduce the same analysis of the rest of the other groups, now we like we consider from our side, using now importing the data again, but this time not within the RMD file, but within the R session, the basic R session. I will use the command here to make it much more dynamic. I will try to clean up a bit here, so this part is not needed anymore. Here is RMD templates import. Here replace with the right pattern within the age group analysis chunk, and here we create the header dynamically. Now we render the RMD and create an HTML file. Okay. Yeah. So the first part is to create like an RMD file based on chunks and templates. And here we export the RMD content into a file. And here, as a third part, we will render and create the final result. I will put all of this in one single function, create dynamic RMD report. And now that I have the function, what you can do is I can source the function. And if I run the function, I think we don't need any parameters. It will generate the report directly. Why I did this? So the next step is try to create a function, or maybe rely on the one that we have already before, in order to just read the file. Yeah. Now I have the patient risk profile again. Now I am interested into all variables that contain, or maybe that start with name age group, because there are the age groups that we are interested into. Now I will select the variables where it starts with age group. And by the way, we have to also make sure that we clean up the names, janitor, clean names, avoid any confusion. Okay, now if I select all these ones, I get all the column, like all the columns with age group, because they are those who are, and we are interested into it. So I get call names, and these are different groups. Now that we like, maybe we can list this this group, so then we have from 10 to 14 till 90 to 94. And now the next step, we want to perform an analysis on all of these different groups. And in order to do so, we will try to use maybe a for loop, or maybe like instead of using a for loop, if there is an intensive computing, I prefer to use a package called purl. Have you already used such package? Some of you have already used it. It's a nice, like an alternative. It's a better alternative to iterative, like framework, like Wild or Thor. And by the way, it has also like another version called Fur, which is like a combination of a future plus per package in order to be able to run for loops in a parallel. Now, the target here is that I would try to pass I would try to pass the target groups as an input parameter for my create dynamic RMD report. By default, it's gonna be null. I like using this standards. I'm not a big fan of just like leaving the input parameters of functions without any default value. And at the part where I have created I have created the heddlr, so like adapted the single chunk. Now instead of having like an age 14 chunk, now I will try to have different groups chunks. Now I will try to create different groups chunks, and instead of just running with one single command, like for one single group, now I'm going to use the different groups. And I will use the package tour, and it has a function called map. And it's in order to apply a function to each single element within the different groups, we need to make sure that we have this single small sign. We can call directly a function, or maybe simply open brackets, and all what is within the brackets will be applied for each single element within the different groups here. And now, instead of replacing the heddlr for each single one, now we make it dynamic. And by the way, the map function passes the parameter dot x as a have to use. Okay. Yeah. So it passes the dot x. This means that like for each thing, like each element within this one would be represented inside this this block with the dot x. So then I want to replace every like single like age group here within this chunk, and then I create different groups. And once I have created the different groups, I will put this chunks under and instead of my one single chunk, and reproduce the results in a very dynamic fashion. Now that I have created the different groups, now I will come here and pass the different groups as a parameter. Maybe we can start first of all, maybe with one single value to make sure that it works for one of them. Maybe we can select the second one. Let's check for which group are we going to do. So it's for 15, 19. Now, if I start doing everything from scratch, now that my Pharma Workshop content has been created, I will check it out. But first of all, I will look at the Pharma report. Now, instead of like the rest is more or less unchanged, but in the group here, now my chunk is replaced by age group 15 to 19 instead of 10 to 14. It worked for one single chunk. Let's see if it's gonna work for different chunks. So let's do it for all the groups. Most probably there is an issue. Let's see what went wrong. Okay, attempt to use zero length variable name. Why are we having such issue? I try to debug. Okay. Now I create my header. I make a template. I export the template. I render, and it seems that there is a little issue. And it's on the unnamed chunk 3. By the way, what when we do is in order to to debug in a better way, so we can even give a name to each of our chunks. In our case, we give it like in this case target age group. Let's say chunk 1, and now I will give it chunk 2. By the way, pay attention if you have different, if you have the same chunk name for two different chunks, so there is a high risk that it's gonna crash and it will not work. I would try to in this case, so even track the issues by giving a name, a dynamic name for my chunks. Now I will give it assign it to the target group. Now I try to read again. Okay, export and render. Now I'm having issue at age group 14, 10, 14 chunk on my Pharma report by heddlr. Now if I go to this part, so it seems that I'm having issue here. Okay, there is an interfering content over there. What can we do? Simply trying to figure out why are we having such kind of issues. Usually it's about just making some spacing. Now I create some space here so that the content is not attached directly under this one. So I will also add some space there. This is one of the drawbacks that we have for this one. So we already have some space. Now I will try to run again. It seems that it's working, and the creation time is on 5:34. This is our result. And if I go back, if I go there, as you might see, I have my header, I have the first section, I have the second section, advanced analysis, and under the second section, so I have the different groups. So then this is the statistics for the first group, this is the statistics for the second group, and this is the statistic for the third group, and so on and so forth. As you might see, so we are able to create and to dynamically create content for different KPIs or for different variable names. We like within the same file without the need to adapt any like a single like a major changes. So we can now maybe instead of create, like we can even think of creating, let's say like a summary template here, and within the summary template we add in the section summary, and we can just comment on this on this report. And the results have illustrated some XX values and so on. And so what they just simply can do, and then they can, in addition to that, I will add at the end. Now instead of having an introduction, I will get a summary, and here is my like the template is summary. And what I can do is that here the analysis has been done by, let's say, in this time we want to make the report much more dynamic. I will get just the syntax from this one. From what is my summary? Is done by. Now I want to pass a parameter author. Now I go back to my heddlr. Now I have the summary template. I check if I can read it. Yeah, it works. The summary template, I will add it into my template at the end of the analysis. And by the way, you can even create dynamically create the sections instead of a chunk like a subsection. You can really play around and create like a advanced content to use using heddlr. Now that I have the summary template, the next step is to add the parameters. Now I'm going to add the parameters, the report parameters. For the report parameters in this time, so I create a list, and within this one, I will create an author, RPharma. Let's say we call it RPharma. However, we first need to declare the params within the header. To do so, I will create the params. Okay, I will just leave it empty, and maybe we can think of, instead of using pretty doc, we can use, for example, flex dashboard, so to have a much more, let's say, like another type of content. And now I run my things. It turns out that render params is not declared in YAML, the author. Let me just see if what went wrong. Why are we having such issue? Why are seems that the parameters are not declared, even though they are. No, they are not declared there. So we need to make sure that here within the header we create like a list instead. So we create a list, and then the author here will get the default value empty. Now I will try to run again. Now it works. And if I look at the content and see, now, if you remember, we have 3 different sections. The first, which is the introduction, the second, which is the analysis, and the third one, which is the summary. And it seems here that we have reproduced, like included the quotation marks. We need to remove them. So no need to do so. As you might see, I think for the flex dashboard, there is a little tiny issue. For the advanced analysis, it does not include everything, or maybe no, it did include, but we have the orientation by I think it's by rows. In order to do so, we just need to come back to our header and just add a little tiny configuration within the header and under the output in this time. So in order to make, so usually what we do, we come here and then instead, so we create like an indentation, and within this one we create, for example, table of content is called true. So which means that instead of having the output as just being a single input, a single element, now we have like a list within the YAML. Like we can reproduce this here instead. So then what we are going to use now, I'm going to create like my list, and flex dashboard is going to become itself a list, and then I will make another sub, let's say, argument, and this one, for example, it's called for flex dashboard, specific for flex dashboard, it's called orientation. Now we make the orientation by columns, and now we try to generate the content. Okay, the argument should be columns or rows. I just inserted cols. Okay, now if I look at my content, it's the same. This means that we were still in the columns orientation. Now I have my analysis now on a like a row wise column wise row wise configuration. This is just like an extra information. What can we do on a second level is that to turn all this into a Shiny application and try to make the report creation much more nicer and efficient. So, for example, we can deploy the application, and then the others can make use of the report generation dynamically without the need to run a single single line of code. So you take care of the backend, and your colleagues can just take the advantage of creating this content directly from a Shiny app. In order to do so, I have like created like a Shiny application with like a module that does the job for us to make it much more faster. I will copy paste the content directly to the project. I will create an R script, and this is the function that we have. Sorry, this is just like an R application. So then I will create app here, and I will call it main app, or maybe reporting app. And I'm a big fan of the BS4-. By the way, it's a very nice and nice looking and cool package for building enterprise level Shiny applications. And it has a very nice functionalities. I highly recommend for those who are about to create some Shiny applications. And we need the module that is doing the job for us, because the Shiny application is just like a user interface with a server, and within the server, I just call the report itself. I have created in a different file like the module, the application module. Now I will create. I will just copy paste into this one. So the file name will be module report. Now, if I run the application, let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, let me just check if all this works fine. We give it a try. Why is the app not responding? Okay, try again. Now the app is about to be shown here. So the app is very basic, by the way. I created the content, thanks to the newly released Shiny assistant from the POSIT colleagues. I have generated the skeleton, and the rest I have used my little skills in our Shiny development to adjust it accordingly. Now we have a button import data. I think I need to adapt it because the function that is within the module is not the right one. I will go back to the import report and look and see if I do have this import function. So the import function does not exist. I will create like the function here. Import data, just like a little function. maybe file, input file. Yeah. Input file, so read some CSV, input again, and then we just simply proceed to the names. Okay. Now that we have this in place, what's gonna happen is that this function is gonna read this one. So we are going to use this function here, import data, and then input file is going to be since the application is within the subfolder app, and our dev data is here. So we go back one step. We go to the dev data folder and we read our patient risk profiles data. And by the way, okay, there's the cleaning for us. No, I think it's already done within the function itself. And then it gives us the possibility to insert like a report title. And there is a download report button. And here we are interested into the data that like the target groups here. Can we select multiple? Yes. And once we have selected these ones, we can generate the report. We give like the application itself is not like fully operational. We try to see how this looks like. Now, if I press on import data, the data is imported. I have the list of my groups and I give it a title, our pharma dynamic report, and then I press on generate report. There is nothing happening. Why? Simply because there is no content within it, because I have so far used like a basic content index. Who among of you is not familiar with RShiny, so that I can give much more details about the framework? Okay, so I can carry on. If there are no questions or no issues, so then I will try to carry on. Now that I have created like the more or less like the skeleton to create the report. Now instead of using like a basic function here, I will try to create try to reuse the function that I have created previously in order to create dynamic like the report dynamically. Now I take the function itself, so these parts are not needed anymore. I will comment them out. These as well. Maybe we can source so that we can get the name, the path. We will include this within our application. We go back one step. And now if I, let's say we call this one, so then the function will be defined. And instead of creating like the report app, like instead of just creating like a random content, I will give it like create the RMarkdown here. Now I will create a dynamic report content based on selected groups. Now the different groups now are not the ones that I have defined manually, but now they are gonna come from a variable like select input called target group. And if I run the app, I select 1, 2, Dynamic report, generate report. It seems that there is an issue. Let's go back and see. By the way, I will try to close all the extra windows and see that. Okay, now cannot open the connection. Content introduction template. No such file is found, which makes much more sense. So I think we need to get rid of the hard-coded paths. Maybe instead we will use much longer, and in order to do so, I will try to copy the full path, and hopefully this is gonna work. Now the analysis path will be like this. I know it's even worse. Okay, maybe copy the path. Why are we having these issues? Anyways, so maybe I can. Why am I not? No. Okay. Now, in order to do so within the function itself, so we need to adapt it. Here is that we go back one step because we are within the app. We go back by one step and then we read the content. I think these are the only four that we have. I launch the app, import data, select two groups, report, generate the report. Same thing. Okay. Now the templates have been imported, but now the patient's risk, so the data we have is not found for the moment. We do not need it because we have already an import function that works outside of the function. And let me just, okay. And so inside the R Pharma, now what can we do? We can even pass the data here. So as a parameter. So and within the introduction, I will, instead of reading from the files that here, I will use the data from the params, patient risk profiles, or maybe input data. I will call it input data. Okay. Now my data, so I will pass it as another parameter. I will keep the same naming, by the way, risk profiles. And I go back to my reporting app, the module itself, and now patient risk profiles will get the input data that is a reactive object over there. Now we give it another try and see if all works fine. I import the data, I select two groups, report, I try to generate the data. Now it's having another issue. Okay, no valid field is specified for YAML parameters. Seems that the parameter that we are inserting is not the right one. Let's value field specified for the YAML. Let me check. Can any one of you help me out there in order to debug? Because it seems that we are not able to pass. Okay, age group. Okay. Now, what can we do here is within the header, What have we missed there? The input data within the parameters has been declared here. And yes, I think we need to add as well there the input data has been our risk profile. Yeah. We are having the same issue, I think. Okay. No value field specified for the ML parameter. Let me just, why aren't we having this issue? Like, are we having this issue? Now, if I look back at the, okay, so it seems that such kind of content is not the right one. Okay. Data. So we cannot just like pass a data set within that. So in order to do so, in order to avoid this, we can think of using another approach instead of passing the data. So then input, now we are going to pass the input data file, and we are going to input the data file instead. And here is the value, which is going to be now we go back 2 steps. Now it's data, dev data. Okay, so it's going to be dev data and patient. Okay, I will get just the name directly without the need to. Okay. Now instead, now I am going to pass the input file as a parameter. However, I need to adapt my introduction template over there. Instead of using this, now I will have the params input data file within it. Now we try again and see if this is going to work. Dynamic report. Nope. Okay. Now we are having another issue, which is on this part. So we don't need to declare it because we have already specified this one. Yes. Back to my session. I will rerun again the app and see if now the data is working properly. Dynamic report. Nope. There is an issue which is saying no value field specified. Why are we having no value field specified? Okay, let's go back. Okay. Go back to our creation. So now input data is not specified because we have changed this one into another one. So now if I go back to my app and look at the generated one, it seems that lots of respect for Farid. Thanks. Yeah. Yes, debugging is the most difficult part. Also, is the fun part. Yeah. Let me check and see where the issue is happening, because we are supposed to have this fixed input data. Now, instead of having input data, now we are having input data file. I will replace this And the same thing when I pass the parameters, I have to make sure that they pass the right ones. Now is the input data file. So the chunks are not needed anymore. Not needed, but I mean, we have already made use of that. Okay, we select two groups, dynamic report. We try to generate the report. Still does not work. No value field specified. I think we need to check out why aren't we having this issue. Okay, first of all, maybe you can clean up and see why is this file not generated. Okay. Dynamic. No, it seems that we are passing, still having the same data passed. Instead of having data, we are passing the values into it. Okay. Create dynamic report. So we have, instead we have the input data file. Okay, I think we are reusing the right ones. Now we have the parameters, we have the right ones. Yes, input file. Okay. Dynamic report. And try to generate this. This time, seems that something worked. Yeah, now the content has been generated, but we were not able to download it. I think now it's getting much more easier, simply because within our RMarkdown helper, we have specified that when we render, we want to have the output file into specific file. So in order to have the file downloaded directly from the Shiny app, we need to comment out this one. Same thing for the report directory. We don't need it. And now, based on the report configuration, we are supposed to get the report directly here. So it will be think to report the date.html. And now we give it a try. We import the data, we specify like 3 different groups, dynamic report, and then we try to generate it. Same thing, we are not having the same, we are having the same issue. Now we need to make sure also that we want to specify that if this file has to be downloaded into that location. We need to create another parameter here. I would call it output file. I will set it to null. And in the module over there, I will add the output file. And now the output file has to be like the file that we have specified within the download, like the download handler. Now I try to import dynamic report and try to generate this time. Same thing, there is something not working properly. I think we just need to specify that we want the output file to be used in the render one. Output file over there. We start again. Sorry for maybe creating some confusion. It's a workshop. It's like a live programming. dynamic report. Now we try to generate the report. Seems that now we have the report generated. Now our Pharma Workshop demo, let's get generated by me. The date, maybe it's a bit different because I'm based in Europe. The analysis is done for the two groups. Maybe we can even make it, change the template and go back to our pretty doc. And so instead of doing also hard coding, we can even within the report itself add a note, for example, here report like within this one. So then we can even, let's say, add the report type, what kind of reports we want to have. And then here we add another item. I usually work with render UI. I know some of you may disagree or do not prefer this approach, but this is the easiest for me. Input text here. Okay, sorry, text input. Input ID, and here is report type, and I have the label. Report type, and now I'm going to specify report types here as the choices. Okay, choice, and for the report types, now we will try to create here a pretty doc, which is going to take the value pretty docs pretty doc, just to make sure that we have the right function. Yes, I'm going to publish the code for sure. Pretty docs. HTML pretty. Sorry for that. Maybe we go HTML pretty and we give it a dashboard. Let's say coming from flex dashboard as our function. And now we can add another input parameter within our function. And this time we want to have the output content, maybe type different. We start with HTML output as the default value. And in our render function part here, I have output format being the report type. And now if I run the application again, I import the data, I select different target groups. Okay, it seems that the argument choice is not the right one. In the select input, sorry, I always forget that I'm working on remote. Now within the module, I think it's called choices. And it's not it's not text input, it's more rather select input. And we have choices. We can select it. Maybe we go for the this one, a pretty doc as the basic, the default one. And we can make it depend also on the data. This means that we can, whether the select in the report type is not displayed before the data is loaded. Yes, definitely you will get the materials. Now I import the data. I select the different groups. I make it dynamic report, the title, and here I have, for example, a pretty doc, and I will select generate report. Yeah, there is an error there, over there. Seems that HTML output is not found. Let me check and see why it's not working. First of all, we need to pass also this parameter to the function here. Report type being input report type. And now we run again the application. We import the data. We do all the steps again and again. Dynamic report. We want to have a pretty document from pretty doc, and now our report is in a pretty doc. So we can, do as you might have seen. You can really manipulate your report and RMarkdown content as almost as the way you want to have it. You can create dynamic chunks, create dynamic sections, and so on and so forth. I think this is one of the most important part that you can start with, and the next steps is how to build something much more nicer. I would give you some nice hints, but you might also use to let's say better organize your project. The first advice I would give is to have the project as an R package. This is one of my favorite moves. Package your project. This is the best practice, the number one that I would recommend. And the second part is also implement some nice best practices. For example, include within your package that you have just recently created, include some processes like linterizing your code, adding some commands, including some CI/CD, and so on. And so once you have all this in place, you can deploy. You have deployment. You have different options. You can deploy using Shiny Live. Maybe some of you have already attended or are going to attend one of the workshops that have been scheduled for this session. The second part is also to consider when it is about sharing the content of your reports. For example, now that I have created the reports, I have the data in place, I have the component, the template in place, and so on. I shared the application with my colleague. Is it possible, for example, to share the content between each other without the need to share sensitive data? I'd say yes, and there are some different ways of doing this. There are two different ways of doing this. In my case, I do use one of them. So the first part is to store, since we are at the end, the heddlr package is just transforming an RMarkdown or maybe some templates into a list, and then from the list it will transform them back into a markdown files. So if we have such kind of list, so then we can proceed to some storage, and in order to make the data storage, in order to avoid having the data stored, but just having the skeleton, and later on we can reproduce the content. This would be much more useful. And then I can for example illustrate right now with one basic case is by using two different storage options. So I will create a file, and I will call it now I will call it storage or maybe sharing helpers. I think this is the last section that we are going to tackle, and I'm open also for some questions. Now, just for information, there is a package called Pins, developed by our colleagues from POSIT, and Pins is a very powerful package that can be used for different purposes, mainly storage. It can store machine learning models from both Python and R, but it can also store some structured and unstructured data. And the pins package helps you to structure and store the content of your RMarkdown instead of storing the HTML content, so that it might contain some sensitive information, especially I think most of you are from the pharma industry, then such kind of sensitive information might be of a high sensitivity and a high risk in losing them, or maybe disclosing them with a purpose or without a purpose. And using pins might give us a very powerful advantage of that. So now I will illustrate how can we use pins in order to store our reports and then reproduce them later on. Now, just for information, pins uses like the famous boards. A board is just like a storage location. And pins can give you the possibility to store, communicate with the storage, whether from Azure, from Databricks, can be also from S3, from S3 AWS or S3 Mini IO, from different compatible ones. You can even use your Microsoft 365, like for example OneDrive, as a common storage for your RMarkdown content reporting. But here, to simplify the task for me, I'm going to use a folder as a storage for that. So I will create like a board based on a folder instead of using one of the cloud-based storages. For example, companies might have some shared folders that they can make use of it and turn it into a common communication channel. Now I will create like my path storage path here as my path. Now I will create it, let's say, storage path being reporting tool. Now I will create my report board based on this folder. And once I create this board, in the report board, maybe since we are working on the main folder, now you see the reporting board. It has been created. Now, as you might see, it's just like an empty folder. If I just check what this board is, the create board is, so it's a pins board. It's a type folder, and it has 0 size. Now, how can we turn this board into something very useful? Now, let's assume that I'm having my let's say I'm going to go back. I'm going to my application and take the RPharma by heddlr RMD. So the final RMarkdown. So it's the final RMD, not the HTML. So not the final content, but the RMarkdown that has the skeleton for that. Now I'm going to get the final RMD. I will use my famous heddlr. Now this time I will import it as a draft, and now I will turn it into, let's say, like an RMD skeleton. more or less, it has exactly the same, like the content that they have been generated, like generating from the Shiny app. Now, since I know that I have created this one, which is at the end simply like a list, and now I simply use the report board that I have. And by the way, the GitHub that I have created for this purpose will be this one. No content has been added into it so far, but by the way, it's like once we are done, I will move the content into the GitHub, including the presentation. Okay, so the presentation more or less is going to be the source code. Okay, now that as I said, now that they have created that they have the report board, what they can do is to store within this board using a command called write, pin write, and now the board is this one, and what I want to store is my RMD skeleton, and I give it a name. My report, if you don't give it a name, it will take the name of this variable, by the way. And now it seems that there is a little issue here. Yes, there is equal missing over there. Now, okay, save my RMD skeleton as a pin object. Okay, and since it's a list, it is recommended to store this as an RDS file. By the way, pin has the possibility to store in different formats. So the default format will be the default format will be in JSON. However, it gives you the possibility to store in CSV, JSON, RDS, Parquet and arrow for the tabular data. In our case, since it's a list, it contains some unstructured data, so it's recommended to use like the type RDS. Now that I have created the board, so that I have saved the skeleton. Now, if I want to check first of all now the board, maybe I will like declare it again and see if I still have the same information. The cache size is 0. And now what I can do is I can even list what is in this board. Now I list. If you remember, we have created like an object within the board, a pin object. We call it my report, and this is the my report. What can we do? For maybe later on, we can get meta data from this one. So I insert the board. What is my report name? Here, this is my report. And I get a list of information of my report. So a title, some description, if you have added it, tags, URL, when was this created, and you can even add some custom specifications. For example, I can just say I am the author or something like this, and in order to do so, I think we use user meta. Maybe I think we can use metadata. Sorry, metadata here. So we can use like the author, which is me, Farid. Now I will add this one. It seems that the content has not changed, so then there will be no extra storage of this document. Now my report meta. If I go back, if I look at this one, so if you remember, we have specified like the author. So all the extra metadata information other than the standard ones will be found under user. and under the user there should be some metadata. Why I'm not sure why this has not been created. Now maybe we can add a function called force identical write. So to write, even though the identical is not there. Now, if it's still identical, now if I look back at the user, now the author is in place. Just to show you how can we like store this object, including some rich information that can be exploited later on. Now that they have created the object, if I go back to the reporting pool, my folder board, you will see that for each single object that has been created there will be like a folder assigned to it. And under the folder, you will see that there is for every time you create the skeleton or maybe create the content, then there will be new version there. So then, thanks to the pins, then you will be able even to save different versions of your Markdown content. And let's say if the reporting pool is like a common, or maybe is a shared report between two departments or two business units, so then another colleague from the other side can make use of this board in order to reproduce the RMarkdown reports. Let's say, and now if I go back to my initial module here, instead of creating from scratch, I can make use of the report here. Let's say, instead of using the creation of the Markdown directly, now I want to create again my RMD skeleton. So I just simply use the RMD skeleton that has been stored in the report board. Now, instead of writing, I'm going to read. And now I give it a name. This is my report. And we can check if RMD skeleton and 1 and 2 are the same. Yes. So this means that when you store under this as a pins object, there is no loss of information, regardless the structure of your content and your variable class and so on and so forth. This is just like an illustration. How can we make use of pins to communicate our Markdown skeletons without communicating the content? So, for example, if your Markdown does not read from a CSV file, but reads from a database, so you don't need to communicate the passwords and so on. You just send the connection, and the passwords have to be passed as in a safer way. For example, as environment variables within the server, so that it can recreate the connection from the other side and so on and so forth. There is also another package which is called Light Parser from, I think, our colleagues here in France. This is a Light Parser. A Light Parser has another advantage compared to pins. Sorry. So the Light Parser, by the way, I'm just going to share it over there. And all the information are available in the presentation, and the Light Parser gives another possibility. So we will try to install the Light Parser to see what is the advantage of the Light Parser for those who do not prefer to use pins, but they prefer to use, for example, databases. Now, Light Parser does it does transform like a table into an RMarkdown and vice versa. For example, here I want to transform my RMD into a table, and to do so, I take my skeleton, or maybe simply I will take my final RMD instead, and now I use my Light Parser and turn the RMD into a data table. Here is the format of my content. So it will, for each chunk, it will be stored in as a single line, and then it will contain the information. Like for the first one, will be will be the type of or our YAML. The second block would be the setup. The third block, more or less like the label, it does not have a name. If you remember, in our case, we have made it like we have named the blocks here. Like for each chunk, it will have a name, and it will have much more information, the title, and so on and so forth. And once you have this as a table, you can save it in a database. You can communicate it as a CSV file the way we want to have it, and then once we have this as a table, we can transform back using the other complementary function combine two file. Now we want to have to see if this RMarkdown skeleton 3 is exactly the same or not. Let's see. Is identical false. Maybe there are some little so maybe spacing or something like that. But I'm pretty sure that the content at the end is more or less the same, because as you might see, if we save, like here, let's now if we use now the heddlr and export it, RMD light parser dot RMD. Okay, I will put it under the app. Okay. Now, as you might see, maybe there is some little spacing that have affected it, but I think that the rest is unchanged, and that if I press on net or even use like the render one, the content is exactly the same here. All right, perfect. I think we have made the tour all over the best practices, how we make use of RMarkdown, the magic of heddlr, sharing the Markdown skeleton without sharing the content. Thank you very much for your attention. As I said, all the materials and the content will be shared in the GitHub repo that I have provided for that. Thanks for your time, and I'm open for questions.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good I was going to say good afternoon, but it's 12:36 where I am right now, so probably good morning is probably more appropriate. I just had a quick question, well, actually two things. One is really loved your presentation. Very,
Thank
very
you.
well done. Earlier, I think Daniel mentioned about the Greeter pipe operator with the percentage signs that should be used rather than the newer native pipe operator,
Yeah.
the heddlr. I'm not sure I understand what my question is. I'm not sure if I understand why the older pipe operator would work and not the newer one. Is there any way you can kind of, I guess, summarize a little bit about why that would be a difference, basically?
To be honest, I'm not using the modern one, so I do not have an explanation for that, because to my point of view, both do the same job. So I stick to the old one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Yeah. All right. If there are no further questions, I would say thank you very much. Have a nice day. For us, it's almost, yeah, it's 20 to 7 in the morning. Still like 8 more hours to do. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and looking forward to connect. And feel free to reach out via LinkedIn. Yeah, I will.